Hey everyone, welcome back. It is time for another wrestling review. With me once again, we have Campo.Reviews, the man who reviews movies, TV shows, wrestling, hockey, you name it. This guy reviews everything. And we also have a returning Putty Man. So returning Putty Man means we are doing a WWE event. That's right. We waited a week so Putty can join us, and we're going to be talking about Survivor Series War Games.
This video was at least 33% cuter now.
Yeah. Well, now that 33, yeah. 33 and 1/3.
33 and 1/3.
But you take my 67 and 2/3, and
you
then
take
you multiply.
my 67 and 2/3 and his 25% chance of winning, and it gives you a less than 0% chance.
And the numbers don't lie. So we'll go right into it. But if you haven't already, make sure you like, you share, you comment, subscribe to the channel. I notice my subscription to non-subscribed ratio is dropping. More people are watching the videos, but less people are subscribed. So if you give a little subscription and a thumbs up, with the return of, you know what, give it a GTS. Give that thumbs up a GTS. It's going to come into play later in the show. With that, make sure you go and subscribe. You go and check out their channels. They have a whole bunch of stuff out. Putty has a whole bunch of Christmas crap out, right?
It's coming out. I'm doing 24 days of Christmas.
Okay,
24 days of Christmas.
Putty's Christmas crab.
Yeah.
Putty has Christmas crabs?
Whoa. Do they wear
you
Santa
can't
hats?
What is it? You can't, Italians, they can't eat meat on Christmas Eve. You have to eat crab and fish and stuff.
I don't want to know anything about
tradition.
this.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. Let's get right into it. The show starts off. Again, they used Ozzy's War Pigs. Great theme song for the show. What the hell are you doing?
I don't know. He's looked like he's trying to murder somebody or looking at somebody very
murder grandpa.
Yeah.
So they keep War Pigs, Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, except this time he did murder grandpa. They didn't have Ozzy do a cameo like they did last year. But we go right into it. We start with our first match, which is the women's War Games match.
Where am I? Is this the wrestling?
We'll start off with
Sharon.
Sorry. Okay.
We have Damage Control, Bayley, Asuka, Io Sky, and Kairi Sane with Dakota Kai on the outside against Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch. So my prediction was wrong. I honestly thought this was what they were going to bring in Jade Cargill.
They didn't. We can talk about that, I think, at the end of this match. But
this was decided by Ruffles, who got the advantage.
Good job. I went into this looking at the card on paper, and it was pretty good. Especially this match. You have, except for Shotzi, 6 or 8 of the best women that work at WWE. 3 of the best female wrestlers in the world: Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and Asuka. Bayley's there. Charlotte's there.
Yeah. Becky's there.
Becky Lynch is unfortunately there. Becky Lynch has been good lately. Let's give her credit.
she's been all right. Let's give her credit.
And Shotzi.
But that's the thing. She was there to take bumps in this match.
She was not very good.
No.
This is for the first time in a long time. I really sat down and watched this, and I took notes. Unfortunately for you guys,
really.
So, like, as we go through this, as on the come out, I just want to say this too, because I watched this not the day after, the 2 days later. Which, by the way, I got your thing to work again.
Okay, good.
It doesn't work on Firefox. It won't let me.
You have to use it in Chrome.
It worked on Internet Explorer as well.
Okay.
Anyways, so I think by now they've done their tweaks and adjustments to things. Because Charlotte comes out and everyone goes woo, and then when you see her standing there, the crowd is not no one, and you can see a large portion of the crowd. No one is mouths are open, but the crowd is like
it's going woo,
so loud, like so deafeningly loud, but no one's mouths are open.
Yeah.
So everyone has their phones out, but no one's making noise. So where did all the noise come from?
Yeah. That's why all the pops that I heard in this show, how real are they?
But if you watched it live, I'm sure it was loud. But I feel like watching it 2 days later, they've now made adjustments, because I noticed a lot of times, which we'll get to in other.
Yeah, you're right. If you watch, because watching it live when we were recording last weekend, When I had it on in the background, you were right. The crowd reactions, there was only 2 points where the crowd reacted loud, and we'll get to that later. But it really wasn't as loud as they did later in the show. You're right. Later after they posted it.
Well, as we're going through this now, we're going to talk about this match. Shotzi can't run. I don't know if anybody watched Shotzi run to the ring.
Yeah.
I literally
He looks
fell
like
out
a
of my
wounded
chair
gazelle.
laughing. I fell out of my chair laughing. What was that? Is she injured?
I don't think so. I don't think she just can't. She can. I don't think she knows how to run the ropes properly. I really don't.
Like, forget about running the ropes. Running
Just
from
running
the
in
cage
general,
to the
yeah.
ring was like hilarious.
Like I said, like a wounded gazelle. Bailey looked like a superstar in this match.
Bailey
though.
looked really good. Most of my gripes are with Shotzi. Like there was a few times, and it's like I'm not just trying to pile on. I want to actually talk about this since this is like the most I've paid attention to a WWE pay-per-view in a long time because I was so excited for this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to like really talk about that stuff, and I think I found it so odd that Shotzi kept doing. Like she would stop and like wait to see what Becky was gonna do. She would like pause and like wait, okay, what's Becky gonna do now? And then react the way. So if Becky's doing taunts, then she would do taunts.
Yeah.
And I know that like a lot of this must have been planned, obviously. Their spots are planned, but it also felt like she wasn't ready for certain things. You could see it in her body language. She was like, okay, and not in the Alexa Bliss sense where it's like, oh, I'm running to my spot to get ready. It was like they both kind of didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I found that really odd.
That is, that you're right though. You're right. It was weird. And she did it like it's almost like what did she have to do with this feud, with this match? It felt like we need an extra woman. Let's just throw her in there.
That's pretty much what it is. She was still good. But here's the thing. And I don't know if we're gonna go into the final results yet.
You could say it if you want.
Okay. Yeah. So I feel like this was actually a way to do two things. One, really make Bailey look good, but also I think, and I don't know what's happened this week on Raw or SmackDown to really justify what I'm about to say, so maybe I'm wrong, and tell me if I'm wrong. But I felt like based on what's going on, it was their way of saying, "Hey, Bailey, you lost us this match," and they're like, "No, she did all the work," and like they're gonna be their way for them to push her out of damn.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what's happening. They're turning Bailey babyface.
I knew it.
Because
if you watch during the match, every time one of the other members of Damage Control were pinned, Bailey was always there with the save. Every time there was a pin, Bailey was there with the save. But then when Bailey took the pin at the end, nobody saved her.
There's two options for me. And I noticed this very early on, since I'll get to my other stuff later, but like to continue on Putty's thing. Two things I noticed right away. They're going to remake the Horsewomen with Bailey, Charlotte, Becky, and they're leaving an open spot. One, because they're not sure if Sasha's coming back or not. And two, if it's not, it's going to be hair lady.
Bianca.
So that's why they did it like this, so that they could plan this out. Because if Sasha comes back, they're going to fill her in that spot. And if she doesn't, then it's going to be Bianca.
I could see that.
But like, so just to like keep going with the match, okay? The chain spot was one of the worst spots I've seen in WWE.
Yeah.
When Kyrie did the tosses with the chain,
they were like having to pause and like wait, and like they weren't even really tied up in the chain. There was a point where they chained together Becky and Bianca, but they weren't actually even tied up. Like their hands were out, and then Becky went like this with her hands to make it look like her hands were tied because she realized, what am I going to do with my hands?
Yeah.
And I thought, like, these are little gripes, but I think
all in all, it was still a good match.
It was good, but it was underwhelming because, like, just like when she, also the chain spot, just to keep going with that first part of it, when she was using it, the part that she wrapped around her hand was loose, and that piece kept swinging around and literally hitting them in the face. Like a few of them took the actual chain to the face because that piece was like swinging over and hitting them. The
Charlotte with the moonsault off the top of the cage looked good though.
And I'll talk about that now, I guess. So I was having a deep conversation about this situation, and it's like, okay, you know when like Kurt Angle moonsaulted and he did it from the top rope, he landed straight down, when you see stuff like that, it works, right? But when you moonsault off the top of the cage, the proper way to land to have everyone be safe would be for you to land this way. But once you're in rotation in the air, you can't stop rotating.
Yeah.
So if you've seen what happened, Charlotte fully rotated all the way around and landed with her feet right on top of Io Sky's head. Like she kicked her right in the head coming down. And I thought, it's not her fault, but the spot was weird because the choice to do a moonsault in that situation, the cage is so high, there's no way you were going to half rotate. You had to go all the way around. What were you going to do? Just like freeze in midair and be like, no,
you can't. Once you hit that point, there's a point of no return.
So I thought that was weird. You landed feet first on top of everybody's head. That was a really weird thing. So, and two things with the camera that I noticed. And a third thing that goes along with it. The camera kept filming things in the wrong time. So like they caught Bianca setting up the fire extinguisher, which now I know is not a real fire extinguisher. There's a little thing and she turned it on.
Yeah.
Then there was like the spot where they were like, they had the camera like facing from one ring to the other instead of cutting, and it showed the two girls lying in between the rings pushing the chairs to where they needed to be on the floor, even though they're supposed to be knocked out.
So bad like, camera cuts,
and it's like, I don't like to talk crap about that because I think WWE actually does a really good job with their producing. That's the AEW thing where you catch them blading and dumb shit like that. But this was like, and this kept going for all the other matches. The camera work in this event was really bad. So going along with that, you caught a lot of spot calling. This whole match, specifically this match, there was and you could hear them. You know, have you ever watched a WWE match and been able to really hear what they're saying in the ring?
It's
rare. You can't. But you could hear them calling spots. Like I could, and I was like, okay, why?
You hear Becky. Okay, clothesline.
Especially when it was Becky against the two girls. Was it Becky against two at the beginning?
No, it was Becky and Shotzi against Bailey.
Yeah. And you could hear them calling spots. And then the last thing about the camera work is, I don't know if I've ever really paid attention to this, but WWE tried to cut away from anything even remotely sexual. If the camera was accidentally facing a girl's butt, it immediately cut away.
Cut out, yes.
If a girl was leaned over, it immediately cut away. Even if they were talking about what was happening there, they cut to something else. And I thought that it's a pay-per-view too, right?
Yeah.
Like, why are you cutting away from that? Like, I understand you don't want to show that, but like the immediate cuts because that's happening is kind of like, I was like, what is this?
Yeah. It's PG era all over again. But going back, like we were saying too, we're going to talk about this is where we thought we were going to introduce Jade Cargill, but no Jade Cargill yet. What's going to happen with her? Where are they going to introduce her? How are they going to introduce her?
So,
unless she's going to be the fourth horsewoman.
I don't know. It's a weird one because no, she won't be. There's big time rumors that Sasha's going back. That they think that she's gonna do a thing that they're saying that she's gonna show up at AEW just to go to WWE. Like, you know how they did the crowd thing at All In? There's a lot of outlets saying now that they think she's gonna show up for something just to be in the crowd, get the hype going, and then go sign back to WWE. But Triple H specifically said that Jade Cargill's not ready. And I will tell people this because we've said this. It's nothing against her. I think even Putty's seen enough of her to tell you this. She looks really good. She's physically a monster. She has the potential, but she is still absolutely not a good wrestler.
Yeah, she needs more ring work.
And that's kind of why I don't think WWE was worried to let her go.
AEW.
Sorry, AEW. I don't think they were worried to let her go. Especially, I mean, I'm not a huge Edge fan, but you got Adam Copeland in return for losing Jade Cargill. I don't think that's a huge thing, especially when their women's division is so full of talent already and they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like we said, Bailey takes the pin in this match, which that's going to add fuel to the fire of Bailey going babyface. There was
a really awkward suspender spot with her where someone did a move off the top rope and got caught in her suspenders.
Yeah.
And then you could see her, even though she's supposed to be knocked out, trying to pull the person's like leg out of her. It was Bianca.
But Next, so Bailey takes the pin. I guess the baby faces get the win on this one. We go into a spot, and we got our big return of the night, baby. R-Truth.
Oh, I know. That was just a weird spot, but it was kind of fun to see him. Like the spot was just so weird. But then when R-Truth came in, I was like, all right, this actually is a little bit fun. A little bit fun.
I don't want to like doubt anything because I always thought he's a really good character and he works well, but he's old.
Oh yeah, he's like almost 60, this guy.
Yeah, he's like 57, I think, or 58. Yeah. So like I'm not 100% sure what they're gonna do with him.
I think this is gonna be he's gonna be more a lot of backstage comedy gimmicks.
Which that's fine. I like R-Truth, so I'm okay with that. I was really I'm glad
the occasional back. Maybe he'll have the occasional match. Like he's only 51. Okay.
Yeah. And then when he walked by, he played like a really nice song, like "Look into my eyes." What do you see? A cat that's stuck inside
a tree. So we'll go into our next match. Our first of only 2 championship matches on this card. A match that on paper did not sound very good, nor was it a match I wanted to see, which was The Miz going against Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship match.
But
so
this was weird. This is a weird match in general, just because of
Miz is a baby face.
He's a tweener.
Yeah.
Well, I thought he's always a heel. Are they pushing him for babyface?
They're Seth Rollinsing him. We'll get to that more as we get to the end of this. I don't want to just go full blown into that.
They were talking about the huge implications on this because now with Adam Copeland and Jericho and everybody in AEW, they want WWE guys to hold all the records, right? So Miz is a 9-time champion. So they were saying that if Miz wins this, he becomes the all-time leader in Intercontinental wins.
This is what I think is going to happen. Okay. And since we're already talking about this, I don't care. Let's just talk about this. I think the plan is to let Gunther take the record for most days.
602 is the record right now.
Pedro Morales. He will take it. The Miz will win somehow by cheating or something. The Miz will get over Gunther. Okay. He's going to get, not yet. He's going to get the reign. That number is going to go up. He's going to then immediately lose the title as a transitional champion to somebody.
Put somebody else over? Okay.
And because if he wins one more, he has the record, right?
Yeah, he'll be a 10-time champion.
So then Gunther will have the days. Jericho. Gunther will have the days, and the Miz will have the amount of time. I mean, the amount of
and then they can move it over to somebody new or someone's fun.
Here's what I didn't like about this match. Okay, number one, I agree with you that I didn't want this match. In the end, I thought the match was fine.
Serviceable. It wasn't a bad match.
But there was something that really bothered me about it. The early part of the match is so slow.
Mm-hmm.
And if for like people that are not really zoned in on it, I think it would go over your head. The reasoning for the match being so slow is just listen to what they're talking about on the mic. The whole entire process of what they're saying is putting the Miz over, reminding you how long he needs to win, how many more belts he needs to win, who he's beat, this, that, because they're trying to remind you in your head that he's good before they let him win again to give you reasoning why he's going to win. They
even mentioned the fact that Miz is a future Hall of Famer.
Yes, and they're doing that on purpose now because, like I said, they're trying to set up all their guys, like you said, to be in spots like that, which by the Miz being a Hall of Famer to me is like nonsensical. I don't care what he's won. He's nowhere near good enough to be in the Hall of Fame, but he's going to be, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Because he's a lifetime WWE guy.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me whatsoever.
Yeah, he is.
But to just stay on that point, right? It's like 5 minutes of them putting over the Miz, and everything in the ring that's happening is nothing because they don't want you to pay attention to what's happening. They want you to listen to what they're saying. So they're getting you ready so
Subliminal
that when he
messaging.
does win, that you're not shocked by it. You're going to be like, yeah, well, the Miz is a future Hall of Famer, and you know
he is already a 9-time champion, but that means he's also
people. And I was like, whoa! I'm like, they're really going hard on this, and it bothered me because they took away from the match. There was like no care at what was happening. Also, with my notes here, there was a lot of people cheering in the crowd before the match, after the match.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the only thing you could hear for Gunther was boos. But if you look
Yeah.
into the crowd,
They're cheering
people
for
were
Gunther
cheering.
because they don't want the Miz to win.
Where did the boos come from? If everyone's cheering, where did all the boos come from?
We've talked about this before, how WWE is getting a lot worse with the pumping in of the audio. You'll hear it again later in the show when they announce Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah, but Dominic, we know what they're doing there. That's them just turning up the crowd noise. They are booing for him, but they turn down his mic. It's kind of like what they do with Don Callis.
Yeah.
But that's fine for me. It's when you can look out and nobody's making noise and there's noise that bothers me.
Yeah.
But this is my number one for this match. And I had to ask my buddy, I'm like, did the Miz always wrestle this way? He's like, no, he didn't. But like when he started fighting against Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan at that time,
yeah,
he started adapting to learn how to do kicks to match up against him. Okay. The Miz does two things. He kicks and then turns his foot sideways and hits them with the unpadded side of his foot for some reason. And he also never throws a kick with like his body. He like leans backwards and then like lifts his leg up. So it doesn't even look like he's throwing a kick. It looks like he's falling and his leg's going up. And he did that so many times that I was like,
I never noticed that.
I'm like, this has to be a joke. But like, somebody must have told him that your kicks look like shit.
Yeah, probably Daniel Bryan.
But like, why do you keep doing it?
I don't know. I'm
sorry. Like that, I know I'm nitpicking
here,
but like,
obviously,
when I'm really zoned in on it, like watching it, like you see things.
I've noticed the Miz is a guy who takes things from other talent. He sees, oh, this works for him. Let me take it. Like the kicks were taken clearly from Daniel Bryan, right? Like and that's how he's always been. That's why I've never really cared. Like, I mean, he's a company guy, fantastic. Like anything the company asks him to do, he'll do it. But I've never really been and on the mic, he's really good.
He's a good character.
Yeah. But as an in-ring performer, I never really was a fan of The Miz.
He's also not an A-tier guy, right?
No.
So, and this is like WWE did get into the dark years of wrestling, and it's not necessarily their fault, even though it kind of is, because they shut down everybody else, right?
Yeah.
TNA was really good for a bit and then tapered off. Ring of Honor was really popular and then faded away.
Yeah.
And then you basically just had WWE giving you what they were giving you. And you got into this place where it's like either they push their B tier people or we're not watching wrestling.
Yeah.
And you got that, right? And you know what? As much as I don't like him, their like unwillingness to let Punk be a number one guy
at the time, yeah.
And their unwillingness to admit that Jericho still had it.
It was the same thing with the thing with Jericho is the same thing they did with Savage. They thought Savage was done, so they put him on commentary. WCW came along and said, "Come on over," and he won the championship 2-3 more times. Still put on fantastic. Like Macho Man versus Diamond Dallas Page is still to this day one of the best.
Macho Man versus Diamond Dallas Page is one of the best WCW matches that they ever had.
Yeah.
And he put the guy over, and he said in interviews multiple times his only goal was he knew that he was talented and he wanted to get this guy all the way to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Which it really did help too, because
that's
DDP
what
really
wrestling's about.
He was he was the face of WCW during the NWO era.
And that's what I'm saying, right? Like exactly. And you point at guys like that all the time, like Cody Rhodes putting people over, Seth Rollins putting people over, Nakamura in AEW, Kenny taking Takeshita to the moon.
Same thing with Jericho.
And that's because they know what's talent. You gotta carry your young guys to be good and get them over. Don't push people that you like. Push the people that are good at doing their job.
Look how Christian is putting Darby over.
Christian is the best thing in wrestling right now. I don't even like Edge. And I didn't care for the storyline, but it's getting so good right now. Oh my God. The storyline right now for them is so good. We digress. We're way off.
Way off topic. But we'll go back to Gunther and The Miz. You're right. Gunther is only about how many days away? Like he's not that far away from
like January or like around the Rumble.
Around Rumble time. Yeah, he is. Let's see. Let's do a quick look up right now.
We're doing a quick look up.
Quick look up, guys. Reigns, there we go. Intercontinental Championship. The longest serving Intercontinental Champion right now is Pedro Morales. That much I know, at 602 days. And Gunther, I think right now is at number 2. So Gunther, no, The Miz is at number 2. Gunther's at number 3. So Pedro Morales, I was incorrect. It's 619 days for Pedro Morales. And he's had 2 reigns. The Miz has had 8 reigns, and he's at 597 days. And Gunther, on his only reign, he's at 541. He just surpassed Don Morocco for number 4. So he's number 3 now.
Like what I even like go back to what I said earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
You let Gunther pass him, let Gunther lose the title to anyone, and then at some point you just have the Miz get it and pass Gunther.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but at that point for Gunther, it doesn't matter anymore because by then you have him already be like in the main title picture where like
he's established.
That helps this like talking about his record helps push him into that picture. But once he's there, who cares about it anymore?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
So with that, we are going to go into our third match of the night. Originally, this was supposed to be Santos Escobar against Rey Mysterio, but Rey Mysterio was hurt. So then it was supposed to be against Carlito. And Carlito, I don't know if he's kayfabe hurt or if he's done. So it was Dragon Lee versus Santos Escobar, which
was the better match.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Dragon Lee, I think,
like,
actually got pushed forward because of this.
I think Santos Escobar looks like $1 million after this match.
Yeah, they both.
I think they both did. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my issue with this match.
Too short.
I don't even have to say it. It not only was it too short, it's probably like 4 minutes.
7.
Like, what the hell kind of it started and it was over, and I was like, wait, what? I'm not even joking you. I rewound the entire match and started over again because I was convinced that I missed something.
We didn't even mention Gunther still won.
Oh, Gunther won.
Oh, yeah, right.
This match was really good. It was way too short. And it's like how we talk about, you need to make the lucha wrestlers wrestle other lucha wrestlers or it doesn't work in WWE.
And that's why this match worked. Like, Dragon Lee is like a young up-and-comer, and Santos Escobar, he comes from a lineage of, like, you know, legendary wrestler. I think his father was El Fantasma in CMLL.
Yeah,
so,
and his grandfather was Pablo Escobar.
Yes, Pablo Escobar. That's
the only other Escobar I could think of out of my head.
Yeah, but no, this was on paper and in the ring. This was a fantastic match. Like we said,
it was a good match.
It was too short, but it, like you said, it did what it had to do. It made Santos Escobar look like a legitimate heel, a legitimate contender. Like,
and it furthered storylines.
But the thing is, being on SmackDown with Logan Paul as your United States champion and Roman Reigns as your world universal, whatever champion he is, where does Santos Escobar go from here? Like,
nowhere.
Because we clearly know, we clearly know next in line for Logan Paul is LA Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, Rumble or Mania. I don't know which one of the two, but that's where he's winning the belt.
Bring back the Euro title, bring back the Cruiserweight title, and let those just be bottom tier belts that anyone can win on any show. They travel.
Yeah.
This way that you have stuff for those guys to do, and it allows you to have a more wide range of matches.
Yeah, because on SmackDown right now, your 2 belts are held by part-timers.
Yeah, and you can allow those belts to flip-flop. Who cares? You don't make it as bad as the 24/7 belt, but you have it so that there's something entertaining for you to watch while the other titles are not going anywhere.
Yeah.
This match is good.
It was really good. Yeah. Really good.
It's way too short, and for that reason, it's not going to change it's not going to raise up my score that much.
Yeah, but Santos Escobar does go over, like we said, and we don't know where he goes from here because there's no championship matches available for him.
I'm more worried about Dragon Lee because I've been watching Dragon Lee since I started watching wrestling again, and I don't care about Santos Escobar. So that's my thought process on
Yeah,
it.
I mean, Dragon Lee, we saw when he got unmasked by what's his name there, Andrade.
Yeah, by Gustav Alberto.
Stuff, Alberto. But with that, we are going into our second of 2 championship matches. Rhea Ripley against Zoe Stark for the Women's World Championship.
Moxley
Zoe
booking.
Stark. Sorry?
Moxley booking.
Moxley booking.
I really like Zoe Stark. I think this was amazing for her.
I love
She
Zoe
looks
Stark.
so
Zoe
good.
Stark is a lot bigger than I thought she was.
Yeah.
She's almost the same height as Rhea.
I think starting at this point though, and from now until the end of the pay-per-view, there's so many botches on commentary. They're calling people the wrong names. They're saying all kinds of weird stuff that has nothing to do with what's going on, forgetting the names of moves. And
yeah,
like,
how many times did Corey Graves correct Michael Cole? Well, this is a this and this is a that.
And they don't usually have issues like this on WWE. Like from a technical standpoint, this was a really strange night.
Yeah. But
the match was fine, but also not long enough.
Short. It was 9 minutes, this match. Only a minute and a half longer than the Santos match.
And I didn't like the way that the match flowed because it was like, it makes it look like no matter what you do to Rhea, you can't beat her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's getting the Roman Reigns booking.
Yeah. And I think you need to humanize her again to make it feel like this is important.
The only one that looks beatable still is Io Sky, but she has her damage control to protect her. So, but she's the only one that looks beatable because she's been beaten before. No. Rhea Ripley hasn't been beaten yet.
I don't know. Like, it's shout out to Io Sky versus Penta. That's one of the freaking sickest matches ever on Lucha
Underground. Oh,
like, how did you take this long to realize she was good? I know we're not talking about the right match, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, that was a good match, Lucha Underground. But shout out to Lucha Underground. But Rhea Ripley is one of the hidden gems on that WWE roster right now. This girl has such a bright future. I wouldn't mind her. I wouldn't mind if she got a rematch against Rhea and wins at like Mania or something.
Yeah, Stark is really good. I like Zoe.
I want to see, you know what? Have Stark win the Rumble and get a rematch against Rhea and Mania and have that same type of main event and that same type of emotion that we got last year with Charlotte and Rhea.
I think go Putty, say stuff.
Well, here's the thing. The reason I want to chime into this is because you know how we have those long running matches where they want to give somebody. Rhea has something. I know some people of you guys are getting bored of Rhea, and I get why they're pushing her because it's the whole mommy. It's really working for the younger audience. That I don't think they're going to take the belt for her for one reason. I feel like what's happening is they're going to give her a record. They're going to give her some kind of record when it comes to that belt. So that way, like maybe the longest record. So that way she has something under her belt that, you know, they can tear her down and then bring her back and she can go back to her old blonde ways even as well if she wanted to. But I feel like she's going to play with this character as long as she wants to until she gets bored with it or until the fans get bored with it. And then at least she sets some kind of record that sets it to a high bar because she is a very popular character, but she's also very intimidating. She's one that takes care of herself when it comes to physically. She physically has an intimidation to her, but it's because she has more of the, the physicality that looks good, maybe not ring abilities, but as far as like the physicality that really works for female wrestler, where you have that crowd that's like, ooh, she's hot and attractive, where there's also that crowd like, ooh, you know, she's got strength behind her that really makes her a key character that's going to do really good in the world of WWE. So I feel like they're going to keep running this train until maybe they destroy the
Judgment Day?
Yeah. And then maybe have her drop off, leave. That's when she loses the belt after she's got the record of her at any point, and then comes back as a new character, or you know, still Rhea Ripley, but then comes back as maybe the way she was back in her old days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if you don't like her, I feel like that's what's going to happen.
She's still way off from the record right now. Bailey is the longest running ever at 520 days.
Yeah, but what's the longest single run?
That I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's what I feel like.
Charlotte only has 480 days with 7 reigns. The longest run is Bailey, 380.
Yeah, and Charlotte, I mean, she's getting close. It's
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
Mania again.
And that's what I'm
That'll
thinking.
be
I'm thinking they're gonna
at
give a
Mania.
record.
It'll be 360,
Yeah,
right?
so you
She
have
won
her
it
go. You have her roll with it all the way to SummerSlam.
SummerSlam. That'll be the longest single reign.
There you go,
And
and
which
then
means
have her lose it.
exactly, and that would also be a good time. Like they can,
And at that point, I
they'll
think she might surpass Charlotte too for
and
number
see
2
this.
all time.
This goes back to what we talked about before, which hopefully we'll talk about later. I feel like what they're going to do is another band of people are going to get destroyed by a person we're going to talk about later. And then Judgment Day is going to be the one that's like the one to beat at this point. And then that's when they're going to give her the record. Then they're going to break up that. And then some new group's going to come along, which could be the one we
I
talked
don't
about
think
earlier
so.
as well.
I think that Rhea Ripley and Dominic are going to stay together for a long time.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is when the Judgment Day crumbles, they're going to start treating it like the NWO or the Bullet Club, where it will never die. It's just going to obtain new members.
Yeah.
And the
There'll be
leader will
splinter factions, one led
Yeah.
by Finn, the other one led by Damian Priest.
and then Rhea Ripley and Thing will stay together as the leaders of Judgment Day. Yeah, whatever. Who cares about him? But yeah, I think it's gonna be something like that. And I also think that there's a good chance Zoe Stark is going to either face someone like Jade Cargill or like Raquel in like a 3-match series that's gonna blow off at Mania, where she finally wins and proves that she's like, I can beat this giant.
Yeah.
And then have her go to SummerSlam and beat Rhea for the title.
Yeah, because Becky, Bailey, none of them need
It's
the
not going to
belts.
be any of those guys again.
No.
They're going to be caught up in their group storylines for a long time.
The only time I could see Bailey winning is when they finally turn her baby face and she wins from Io.
Yeah. That's going to be that's who's going to win that title.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. This match was fine. It was not bad. It was not great. It just was. It was a good showing for Zoe Stark.
It made Zoe Stark look really good, and to get the crowd and people to appreciate Zoe Stark for this girl came out like she basically came out of nowhere. We were talking about her last year. Remember we did that NXT deadline review, and we're like, who is this girl, Zoe Stark? This girl came out of nowhere, and why doesn't she have the championship yet?
Well, because she did nothing on NXT for so long. She just existed.
Yeah. She was in that bad tag team with Nikita Lyons.
But I want to give credit to Rhea Ripley because even though she won, I feel like she did do some good spots to really make Zoe Stark look good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's my whole
They're
point.
both great in-ring performers. You can't take away from that from Rhea either.
And that's the reason why, I feel like what'll happen is they can have a feud that could lead into her getting it later, but after that record's taken, maybe. So it's one of those things where maybe
because they're all about records, the WWE.
Yeah, and see the thing is, I could see basically Rhea has the record, gets the record for longest run. Then every time she fights Zoe Stark loses. Maybe even bring Jade Cargill in there. No one could beat her. But then Zoe Stark finally reaches the brass ring and gets it. And you remember, it's always that underdog situation where they keep losing until they finally win. And I feel like Zoe Stark puts off that kind of vibe where it's like, oh, we want her to win. And when she finally wins, it's going to be very great. And then also Rhea replicates her record. And it just becomes a great underdog story that also lets the other story keep its playing. So,
but alas, Zoe Stark does not win. Rhea Ripley retains. So with that, we are going to go into our main event of the evening because the Nakamura match was not. I honestly thought there was going to be a Nakamura match this night.
There was supposed to be,
but against who?
Really?
Though?
Kenta.
That was our dream, But we are going to go into our main event match. It is the Judgment Day members Damian Priest, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough, with Drew McIntyre as well against Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and apparently Randy Orton, because they were teasing all night that Randy Orton wasn't going to be there. He wasn't going to show up.
Well, here's the thing. I was going to say maybe play off the whole he doesn't show up thing, because that kind of was like the big part. Like, is he going to show up? He's
going to turn on you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I was going to say play off that whole situation, but I guess later on we have something else to kind of play off that whole situation. But here's my thing. Since we already brought Randy Orton, I was going to wait till later to bring it up. I'm excited to have Randy Orton back, but it didn't feel as impactful. And I think it's because what else happened maybe. but like I'm excited for him. Like here's my thing with this match. I don't know. It felt like it needed more. Like when they're like, for example, remember when they're talking about bringing the tables with the women's and everything.
It needed a little bit of blood. It needed some color. You cannot have a War Games
Yeah,
match without a little bit of blood.
I feel like they're going a little too tame on things because they're like, oh, kids are watching, and I'm like, I get kids are watching, but it doesn't feel like the word War Games feels like it needs to be raw. And I mean, there were some fun spots, there were some fun things that happened, but I didn't really feel it was underwhelming outside of when Randy gets in there. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
And then even then at that same point, it was just because I was excited as the nostalgia feels more than anything else. It was like it was member berries for me. You know what I mean? So it's like, is that me just being overclouded? Because I'm starting to want to be that way.
It was nice to see how over Jey Uso is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The crowd is super into Uso right now.
And you know that old saying, 1 + 1 + 1 is 3.
Yeah. 2 +
Which
2
does
+ 4
play,
- 1,
which
that's
does
3.
play
Quick
into the
maths.
Randy.
Everyday man's on the block.
But that
That's
plays
not
into
hot.
the Randy Orton thing because of him going after the bloodline. So it really works with the whole storyline. But then, of course,
Right.
talking
There was
later,
also
that
the
kind of changed.
storyline how Randy Orton's last match was against the Usos, where he lost, him and Riddle lost the belts to Jay and Jimmy.
Yeah.
So there was the whole talk about can or can't they trust each other, right? And there's a really cool spot where it looked like Jay was about to super kick Randy, but he ends up super kicking McDonough.
Yeah. Like helping Randy, like actually helping him.
This match had a lot of good spots.
Yeah.
Like the RKO.
Sami Zayn and Jey Uso back together, this time as good guys.
But the thing is, the match was like clunky.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't.
They don't do anything until everybody's in the ring.
Yeah, and it was just, if it wasn't like the women's one where it was like constantly like stuff happening. It was kind of just like yada 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 nonsense until everyone got in the ring.
Well, but let's use a prime example. The spot with Randy Orton where they all did
the draping DDT.
Yeah, when they all did that, it was really cool. But then it was like the problem with that is like you have 6 guys that are being held. You're telling me not one set of those guys that like just crawls out of there and says, "No, what are you doing?" You know what I mean? Like if the problem with situations of those orders is because it's that right there is when people always go with accusations of like wrestling's fake, that kind of thing. Like we know the things are staged, but that right there is always a confirmation to that. Like AEW, even though I haven't watched it in a while, doesn't feel like it does that unless things are changed, where they don't really set up that campiness to the point of where like all 6 are standing there doing his move. And it's like,
they do sometimes with the Bucks.
Okay, I guess so. But you get what I'm saying, though, where I'm going with this. It's like,
even though they're one of the greatest tag teams of the last 5 years, go and watch that video.
Yeah, but I get it. It's like I think that's weird too, where everything just suddenly sets up perfectly for everyone in the whole match to do something at the same time. You're like,
And see, here's the thing about it. I know things are fake, and I'm putting it out there. I know things are staged. I should put it that way. But those are the times right there when people want to really dice into WWE and say, "Oh, it's all staged." How are you going to like even say, well, they get hurt?
They did that draping DDT because it was a cool TV spot, because they had the overhead camera, and you know what I mean? Because it was going to look cool on TV.
Anyways, the match didn't flow well for me. I think there was too much going on. They tried to set up too much storylines.
Well, I mean, when the final buzzer went and Randy was supposed to enter the ring, instead you got Rhea Ripley's music coming and her running out with the briefcase, teasing that. And I said that too, didn't I, Campo, on the state last week? I said we might get a cash-in attempt.
Yeah, and then it doesn't, and it's fine, and and I'm tired of this trope of like, oh, they're gonna cash it in, but they're not gonna cash. If you hand it to the referee, you should lose the briefcase.
Yeah, I agree.
But the thing is, it won't work because they're still the tag champs. They need to lose those belts first.
Yeah, there's a lot for me here, and my brain doesn't like it. It was it was actually a good match. It was probably my favorite match of the night.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was just too clunky for periods of it until everyone got in the ring. It was like all over the place.
Yeah.
And
well, that's the thing. I think maybe they should change the War Game stipulation that you can pin somebody before, because you can't pin anybody until all 5 people are in the ring.
Yep.
I think it should be elimination rules where every time someone gets pinned, they have to leave.
Or just have the match with everybody starting in the ring.
And do that every time someone
Is
gets
the,
pinned,
what do
have
they
to
do?
leave.
What do they do for Blood and Guts? They have everybody start, or do they do increments as well?
They do increments.
But then why does Blood and Guts work and this didn't?
Blood and Guts was originally brought out like as a thing because they wanted to bring back War Games because WWE wasn't doing War Games. So that was their like, we're going to bring it back.
Yeah.
But see, at the same time,
But
Blood
it
and
works
Guts,
because
don't
it's
they?
raw. It's hard.
Yeah, because there's violence to it. These, you have to understand, this is the situation. They're just beating up each other, but the it doesn't feel as sincere if they're not pinning.
Like a
So
perfect, a perfect example of what Putty is saying. The kendo stick spot in the women's match. That was so stupid.
Yeah.
And someone made a really good meme online, and like, shout out to him because he's a huge WWE fan, and like, you know, it's rare to see them do something like this, but he's like, violence in wrestling, and it's like people getting hit with chairs, and it's like violence in the WWE, and it's a guy holding a kendo stick. Like, that's that hardcore match in the it was hardcore match in the WWE, and it's a kendo stick. And it's like, they're so unwilling to do anything remotely violent in a situation where it calls for it.
Like I said, a little
Kevin
bit,
Owens for bleeding.
A little bit of blood would have made this match go a long way.
Kevin Owens bleeding in the match in Pittsburgh. Tell me that wasn't a huge moment that made that match so good. Even though they came out wearing hockey gloves and jerseys from behind a barricade, but still.
From the penalty box.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, but it's true though. Like, you could have had even like someone like if JD McDonough were to bleed, just something as simple as that would have been so effective.
Or like someone getting a Tiger Driver 91 and dropped on their head.
Right. But in the end, the good guy, the thing I didn't like about this is the way it ended. You get JD McDonough being tossed off the top of the cage. Randy Orton grabs him in midair, does the RKO. And instead of pinning McDonough, they let Cody Rhodes do the crossroads on Damian Priest to pin Damian Priest. You are making your Money in the Bank holder look like a complete chump.
Especially because that spot was sick off the top.
That should have ended the match.
See, that spot off the top was really sick, but then at the same time, the connection with Randy Orton, like, I still can't help but see that there's literally no grab when he comes down and gets him in midair, because it's so hard to get that timing.
Catch a guy coming off through the air, and when you look at the history of the
RKO,
the RKO, that the moves that they've done, like from Seth Rollins,
loosened his grip and everything.
When Seth Rollins is about to do the stomp.
It's not even like something that people really like talk about, but it's like there's this quiet like history of him in special occasions doing an insane RKO, and so when it does happen, everyone's like, oh yeah, you know.
And like I said, was this just to put Cody over?
I don't know. I don't really care because no one got put over, because 2 seconds later, shout out, spoilers, CM Punk comes out.
Right. The show.
Look in my eyes, what do you see? The cult of personality.
Right. The show was about to go off the air. They even put the little logo in the bottom of the corner, and out comes Cult of Personality.
And I want to point out that yes, they did that, but also, if you know anything about wrestling, you don't cut to off the air that fast after the main event ends.
No,
they had been celebrating for less than 1 minute, and it was about to go off the air. I was like, what? I'm like, you're not even gonna let them bask in the glory of their win, and then boom, CM Punk comes out. And I get why everyone was mad, because they're like, this is supposed to be about us winning, and you cut us off, and you gave all the glory to CM Punk. Nobody cared about the match anymore.
Yeah.
No one in that arena remembered that match even happened because of that. And that's bullshit to me. All the hard work those guys got put in, and they got undercut by that. At least when Edge came out, it didn't undercut that match with Christian and Darby Allin.
I think not undercutting the match would have if he came out before and stopped Ripley from cashing in.
He should have came out of the crowd and grabbed the briefcase from her and ran away with it.
Yeah, like Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, behind the scenes, I don't know if things could have turned out a little bit differently if that's all I'm gonna say.
But
I'm just
from
gonna
what I
say,
understand, I think
Yeah.
that's a work.
No,
Like-
so I will give you guys the inside scoop of dupe.
Well,
It was a shoot, a real life shoot, and they convinced Seth Rollins to turn it into a work shoot because he's a company guy and he was easy to like get down. But apparently he was backstage going mental in gorilla position.
and Drew walked out.
Drew walked out, so they didn't find out that CM Punk was coming out until they were walking out, most of them, and the rest of them found out when they were in the cage. Someone went up to them and told them. So when
Yeah.
Drew did that, Drew told the cameraman, and you could see it, to like give them a signal. So he signaled when Punk was coming out, and Drew just walked away and left and packed his bags and left the arena.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll
And
see
he's
Drew
been
again.
making comments. He's been making comments on Twitter apparently, and he doesn't want no part of this. And I get it, because you're bringing in a guy, and apparently, if what the dirt sheets are saying is true, his first two rivalries or like setups for matches is going to be Seth Rollins, who's the
And
champion,
Roman Reigns.
and then Roman Reigns. He just came back. You're going to push him for both titles right
But
away.
no, I can clarify this though, because Friday night on SmackDown, Randy Orton was given 2 contracts, one for Raw, one for SmackDown. He signed the SmackDown contract. I think we're getting Orton and Roman.
Yes,
at
we
Mania.
are. But then when CM Punk is done probably putting over Rollins, I'm going to say, he's going to go put over Reigns, and then it's going to be Cody Rhodes or something
Cody
like
Rhodes.
that. Like, I
But
don't know.
it can't be, because that's the thing. Who's going to win the Rumble then?
And Cody doesn't like CM Punk in real life.
Actually, no, they're friends.
Yeah, but they're kind of like friends.
so should I bring up what I talked about earlier in that,
Well,
or should we just save that for
before
another video?
before we do the other thing I was going to say. So that's the thing. Like, unless they do Randy at Rumble and have him lose to Roman.
I don't know. Listen, I don't give a shit what they do. I'm not here to speculate on that. I just think that you want to bring Punk back, fine. Can Punk still wrestle? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he completely overrated in my opinion? Yes. But is he bad? No. Do I care that he's there? No. But I feel bad for all of the rest of the wrestlers who are going to suffer now in what WWE does in these situations. And yes, AEW has all these old guys they bring in, but if you notice, none of the old guys are getting pushed.
Yeah.
WWE is like, bring back your favorite and then push everyone who needs a push out of the way, and then give it to somebody that doesn't deserve it.
Yeah. Buddy, what were you going to say?
Well, no, I was gonna say what we were referring to earlier, but I feel like we should save that for another video, because I feel I told you this earlier. I feel like I foresee things happening and pushing 2 wrestlers out to give them time to rebuild something else again. So I'm not sure if you want to save
Well,
that for.
let's do it. Putty's thinking they're going to bring the Shield back,
So here's the reason why.
because they did do a lot of mentioning of the Shield during this show.
And see, here's my thing. If they finally decide to knock off Roman Reigns, I feel like Randy Orton is a perfect person to do this, to knock off the bloodline thing because of what happened to him, which would give a chance for Roman to lose his belt, get mad, find some way of getting Seth Rollins to lose belt, get him mad, both of them leave out of anger of the belts, taking a break off, and then letting them the whole world of WWE simmer with new wrestlers. Cody Rhodes can get the belt, things like
So you're
that.
going to Generation X them.
Pretty much, I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna bring him back as even if it's just 2 of them, or maybe
It
make
will
a
be
new
2 of
member.
them.
It will only be
Yeah.
2 of them,
But
because
bring
they're
back
not
the
going
idea
to.
Moxie's never going back to WWE.
No, and he just signed a long-term deal too, didn't he? At least
Well,
the 3
he
or 4
also
years.
said-
He already said he will never go back.
He'll
to
never go back.
WWE.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, so they could always have a third person to come in for that, or they just have them 2 and have a whole Shield situation, and that way they can get Roman Reigns back into the favoritism, but do that later. Because again,
Continue.
well, that my point is Rollins. I like Seth Rollins, but I feel like he's already gotten bored to a lot of people.
He's already
And we've
stale.
all-
They should have changed the
Yeah.
belt. Like, they had so many opportunities to change the belt with Balor, with Nakamura, but they kept it on Rollins, and I don't know why.
Derek, because what I think what Putty says is definitely a possibility when they let Solo take over the bloodline, which is going to happen, because
Mhm.
once again, like the Judgment Day, I think they're going to let the bloodline stick around forever. It's just going to be a constant wave of new island boys coming into Phil's position.
Oh, those 2
right?
white kids from
Yeah,
yeah.
that
Yeah,
kiss
we're
each
not.
other.
Yeah, that. Yeah, yeah. That's-
No, but they they signed a bunch of people, right, that
Yeah.
haven't appeared yet. So that's definitely what Paul Heyman is going to go to solo, and they're going to turn on Roman Reigns.
Yeah, and he's
That's
going to
what's
bring in
gonna
those
happen.
guys, right? Because they're on a per match basis in New Japan right now. Lance Anoa'i and No Shoes guy.
Yeah, no shoes guy.
But either
And
way, that would still push Randy Orton over, destroy. What they could do is like maybe make Roman Reigns lose the belt, and then
he's not going to lose to Randy.
No, it'll
You
be
don't
to
think so?
Cody at Mania.
No, Randy's at the
Okay.
point now where WWE would be stupid. He's a put over guy, and that's all he is.
Yeah.
He's going to get pushed into main event pictures, but he's going to be there to lose, like how Chris Jericho
Well,
kind of
either
is.
way, I still feel the Shield thing might be what they do. I feel like
Anyways,
that's something.
I could
they're going
see
to do
that
the
though.
Shield thing, but they're both they're gonna leave for like over a year, like a long time.
Because remember, Seth Rollins' back is hurt.
But I think you're going to see like almost a 2-year hiatus from both of them, other than like sporadic appearances. And then they're going to come back as the Shield, surprise everyone. And then the third member is going to be a young up and comer to put that person over. That's what they're going to do with that, right? It's going to be like the Shota Umino of that group. But like, just
the
like
Konosuke Takeshita.
Yeah, the world of wrestling is so funny because it's like, oh, you know, John Moxley, but like, look how absolutely over he is in England. Look how over he is in Japan. He's a god in Japan. He's over in Mexico. He's over all over the States. And it's like, he's so big at this point that, yeah, sure, he doesn't have the mainstream TV appeal of a WWE wrestler, but in the world of wrestling fans, he's far bigger than a lot of people in WWE.
Absolutely. So with that, Putty, since you haven't been on the show in a while, what would you score this show?
It's such a weird thing because I definitely feel like it was better than Crown Jewel, but only because Crown Jewel, I don't know, this is hard. WWE is at that point now where it feels like every single pay-per-view is the same. Is it just, am I the only one wrong saying that?
Like, it's been like that for a long time.
Yeah, it's been like this all year.
So for me, it's like, I don't know, 7.5 maybe. Like it's I don't know. I don't know how to really judge it because
what was the last WWE?
Crown Jewel.
Crown Jewel.
What did I rate it?
You rated Crown Jewel a 7.3.
Okay. Continue.
Putty gave it a 7.2.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is like I think for me it's mostly just seeing Randy Orton and even like maybe even a little bit of push. Like for example, I'm gonna be honest with you. What's his name? Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee. I'm a fan of Dragon Lee.
Who's that?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee is one of those ones I'm excited to see, and I was more excited about that, and honestly, than the whole thing. Like I can't wait to see what else Dragon Lee's going to get, and I hope they push him. I hope they give him more time.
Campo.
What did I give last year's Survivor Series?
Oh, you're gonna make me do research over here.
Oh, it's on the next tab.
6.9. This was definitely better than last year's.
It was better, but like, was it better? What did I give Crown Jewel? 7.3?
7.3.
7.3.
Fair enough.
It was fine, but it wasn't special.
It's been average for me. With the returns, kind of gave it a little bit more. And you guys all know I'm a Punk guy. I've always been, always will be. Politics aside, his in-ring work, his mic work, I think that just kind of gave it a little bit of extra for me, just because I'm a fan. And for me, I actually scored it pretty high. I gave it a 7.6.
All of those factors that you just said were factored into why I gave it a 7.3. I was going to give it a 7.
But I also took into the fact that this was a good, even though it was too short, it was a good showing for Zoe Stark. Too short, but it was a good showing for Santos Escobar and Dragon Lee. The better match of the show.
The better matches were too short. We spent too much time on nonsense.
And pleasantly surprised with Gunther and Miz.
It was fine. There was none of the matches were bad.
Yeah.
They just, you had two really good matches, and you kind of just, they were you breezed over them.
It's like you had a 3-hour limit and you stayed within that 3-hour limit.
I find it funny though that I still feel like the single matches themselves were a little more entertaining than the actual war games themselves, because the war games had some the war games had some good spots high up, but like at least the decent matches Like I was like, dude, use the other ring for fun when you're wrestling in those one rings, which I guess I see why they don't. But
Yeah.
play along with that. But still, those matches were still like the Gunther match with Miz. I was like, these are two heels. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's
But
I
it still felt
sorry.
comfortable and nice. It felt like it was an odd mix of like I was actually in a little bit there going cheering on Miz. I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm cheering him on. But then at the same time, when it came to the War Games, I'm like, I don't feel that.
You
And
know what the
so,
War Games issue is? I just thought of this right now. And when you compare it to Blood and Guts, in Blood and Guts, the match feels like chaos. There's people in both rings. They're all over the place. They're all doing something different. In WWE, everyone's concentrated into one spot, and when they're not, they're on the floor on the side. So it's like it feels like it's constantly like it's like choreographed, right? Where the other thing feels more like a brawl, like everyone's just all over the place and it's like crazy.
I got exactly what you mean. There's a prime example. They're always targeting certain wrestlers in the ring, while the other people are just bodies on the ground waiting for their chance to get up, and now they have their spot to be on camera. It felt so much like, okay, Roman and them, this person's wrestling. Maybe one person, two people are taking against him because all the other people are down, and then all of a sudden they're down and someone's back up, and it's like a rotation. It felt like
it's a difficult time. Okay, coming off seeing Full Gear, and then watching like New Japan's been good lately. Noah's been good. That DDT event was pretty good. Impact has been on fire. And then you keep getting these really baseline WWE events. And I think that's what's holding them back. The rest of the wrestling world is on fire right now. And WWE is just hitting their quota, we'll make it good enough.
Like we said last week in our state, a holding pattern.
Yeah, and it's not bad. Like the last we haven't like hated anything we've been watching. It's just it's been so mid, and it's I don't like that because the year started off pretty strong for WWE. I feel like
with a really good Mania,
especially night one.
Yeah. I don't know. I think what it is again, even when Noah had a good Mania, WWE does not know how to let people just go. Because I get people like Roman Reigns, they want to still make money, they want to be ahead of the table, so to speak, and everything. But it's like at least sometimes it feels like a prime example is this: when Seth Rollins won the belt, it felt like, oh, we're getting a change. You know what I mean? But then he says, I'm going to be the one that wrestles everyone. And it's like, yeah, but you're not giving us anything else but what Seth Rollins has been before. There's nothing special now to what happened with you. And now you're feeling like Roman Reigns. And you've already been shoehorned yourself to be what feels like Roman Reigns. So now I feel like we're just getting both the same thing. That's the reason why I feel like them leaving and becoming the Shield later on is a great way of bringing them back to full circle to being popular again. And let other, because even even Cody Rhodes, when he came out, I don't feel the pop was even that great. I feel like you guys said it feels like it's forced now because even Cody Rhodes is not being pushed because it's
a lot of air came out of Cody's balloon when he lost to Roman last year.
Yeah, and see the thing is
and he has nowhere to go right now. His storylines are all wishy-washy.
Yeah, it's like we said, a holding pattern until Mania. He's going to win the Rumble. He's already announced himself in.
I'm tired of WWE just taking groups of faces and slapping them together. You know who should have won both of these matches? The established heel team that works together. Oh, wait, both heel teams are established heel teams that work together against two face teams that literally have never wrestled together a day in their lives, but somehow they've won both matches.
And see, here's the other situation. Like Jey Uso is the only one I could say in this situation that he did a complete switch and changed how he was when he came with the Usos, and it fits. The yeet, the whole thing. He's growing as a character.
Yeah, the crowd is
fun.
super behind. But then again, how real is the crowd chanting yeet? Because we know with the boos and stuff like that, right? So how real is that chant?
But no, and you're probably right about that. But at least on my end, looking at it from the TV screen, it's at least a little bit enjoyable. Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, even Sami Zayn. Again, Cody Rhodes taking KO away from Sami Zayn has really made him boring now. And I hate to put it that way. Sami Zayn.
Exactly. And I was talking about this to people. He has nowhere to go. They're not going to give him a world title. You took him away from Zayn. He's just fodder now for them. Yeah. And it's like, but that's
he's in a feud right now. He's in a feud with Austin Theory and Logan Paul.
Yeah, irrelevant. And to add to it, like even more goes back to what I just said. you've now taken your two big heel teams in the women's and the men's division because Bloodline doesn't even really exist at this point. What did you do to them? They're not threats anymore because they both lost.
Yeah. It's a weird, again, it's what they keep.
See, what would have told a better story was if Finn Balor won the belt at that event in May and had Seth Rollins chase for it. Like, yeah, we may have lost the War Games match, Seth, but I'm still champion. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, here's my thing. We're in this weird thing. And again, I feel like it's just WWE doing the same thing over and over again, where they're like, okay, we're going to give you guys what you want. We're going to go ahead and give you a surprise win, which was the Seth Rollins thing. But then they turn Seth Rollins into what, again, Roman Reigns is. And they constantly are like, okay, we're going to give you what you want, but we want to go back to safety. Like, we keep wanting to hit safety and everything. And it's like, even if they bring in a character that's very charismatic and fun, like, I'm going to give you a prime example. I now don't want LA Knight to win that belt as far as like any of the title belts, the big title belts, for one reason. I feel like it would be the same thing. He would then become boring. He would become this thing where it's like, oh, LA Knight won. It's so exciting. Now he's going to hold the belt, and there's no feeling of like there's a chance of him losing it. Like, it doesn't feel like that with Seth Rollins, and it doesn't feel like that.
That's why
Reigns.
I think going into the US title, him beating Logan Paul for the US title, I think would be a bigger thing for him, and it'll be a good place for that belt in terms of like, that's exactly what LA Knight. He's a really good mid-carder. Yes, the crowd is behind him, but he's not on that level of being a main event guy. I don't think, at least.
I think he can. I just think he needs time. Like, I agree with you. I think he needs time.
He's like 40.
No, but I'm thinking I'm talking about time as far as like have the other belt and then maybe move on to the next one by losing it.
He needs to transition from a mid-card belt to a bigger championship.
And I think that he can do it. It's just the problem is right now they've really screwed up their whole thing when it comes to champions, that I feel like the belt needs to kind of, and see, honestly, I know this sounds stupid, but I feel like it needs to go to somebody nobody freaking cares about. And the reason I say that is because then if they hold on to it by mistake, like, I'm going to try to use an example. I can't remember what it was, but there was one time, I think it was Shane McMahon that won the belt, and everyone was like, oh, this doesn't make sense. It's so stupid, that kind of thing.
Vince.
Yeah. When that stuff kind of happened, you wanted him to lose, but he kept on holding it for a little bit. And it was like one of those situations where it's like, I hate this, but it's a compelling story. And the thing is like, we're not seeing heels automatically take the belt and hold it for a while. Because the people that people like, they give the belt to, but then they start hating that person. You know what I mean? And that's what Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins have become.
It's become stale because he's beaten everybody.
Yeah, and like, I mean,
but with Reigns too, he's had as many matches in, was it in 2023? Sting has had more matches than Roman Reigns.
Like, let me ask you a question.
No, Sting has had more matches than Roman Reigns has had title defenses, is what it was in 2023.
Like, let me ask you a question. When was the last time a heel, outside of using Gunther, and I'm talking about a main championship, World and WWE?
Roman.
No, but he didn't start off heel.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, did he? I thought he didn't start off heel.
When he won the belt, he was a heel.
Oh, did he? Okay,
yeah.
Okay. See, I didn't know he was a heel. I thought he was a good guy, and then he turned heel because people started booing him. But okay, well, then never mind. That kind of took away, because the thing is, I feel like there's been too many good guys.
They turned him heel because literally nobody liked Roman Reigns.
Yeah, nobody cared about him.
Now that he's heel, he's the most popular wrestler in the world because he should have been a heel the whole time. But that's what bothers me about
But it's too late.
The community. It's like you guys all hated this guy. Now you like him. He didn't do anything except switch from face to heel.
Yeah.
He didn't become a better wrestler.
No.
I don't know. It's just we're in a weird situation where the people they're giving the belts to don't seem entertaining enough to keep it, even though they were at some point. And it's just like, I really feel like they need to do something that's really crazy, and then let the belt transition to someone that deserves it. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like it doesn't need to go straight to Cody Rhodes. I feel like what needs to happen is someone that doesn't deserve it gets it, and then that way Cody Rhodes can fight it and maybe even give it a
were saying, maybe have Randy win it at the Rumble, and then Cody beats Randy at Mania.
Which I'm okay with that. See, my thing is this. The problem is they're in a weird spot now where it's like the popular one they're not going to give it to because he's not ready, like LA Knight kind of situation. You know what I mean? But then the people that were popular, like Seth Rollins, they give it to him, but they don't give him an edge enough to make him interesting. Like maybe even change his story and let him migrate into something new. You know what I mean? Like there was no evolution to him. It just
No,
feels stale
it's
and
been the
boring.
same
And
characters for a couple years now.
yeah, I don't
But
know.
that's why I think maybe it's not such a bad idea with Randy winning the belt. He's the only credible person right now that Roman has not beaten.
Yeah, but it's to me, it's like from a wrestling aspect, and like maybe because they are trying to do these things, but like from a wrestling aspect and a fan of wrestling, like I'm so tired of these guys with their fucking 10-day runs, but then being like, oh, 17-time champion, even though he only had it for a total of 300 days.
Well, it's like Charlotte. Charlotte's an 8-time women's champion, but she's only held it for 400, not even a full, barely a calendar year.
Well, like for example, I'm gonna use Rhea Ripley as a prime example. That was a heel that ended up winning the belt, and it actually became entertaining. Even though I know for some people,
well, no, she was a face when she won it.
I thought she was considered a heel.
No, Charlotte was the heel in that match.
Oh wow, that's right. But yeah, but see, they were trying to push her as a heel, though, weren't they?
She's still not really a heel. Like WWE is just all tweeners.
Yeah.
Well, no, I get that. But see, like Judgment Day is supposed to be bad, but she's not bad because everyone likes her. But then that's a heel group. It's like it doesn't make sense. Again, that's the same scenario in this situation because like I really want someone to come in that's like Gunther. Like I want somebody like Gunther to come in that has a personality that would take one of these belts off of one of these two people and run in a whole bad situation.
Well, that's I think the match we're getting at Mania. It's going to be Gunther and Seth, where Gunther's going to win.
Yeah,
and he's going to double belt.
Giovanni Ribisi will beat him for the
which that would be cool. That would be an amazing thing because then Gunther would be, that would make him look really badass. And it could really go through a run of like really fun things happening at that point.
And then that's when you have a tournament and Jey Uso wins the Intercontinental Championship.
I'm down.
The King of the Ring.
What a concept, eh?
What a concept. Gets the IC title.
Yeah. And have it drawn out. Like 32 people. And have it drawn out until May. From April to May. Have it a month.
They never listen to the fans. And even if they do listen to the fans, it's the fans they shouldn't be listening to.
It's
I feel.
The children.
Yeah. Anyways.
But
CM Punk's back, though.
CM Punk's back. And I think this may be a good thing for WWE. It can be a good thing.
Well, guys, thank you for watching this review and state of wrestling.
And state, which is fun. We did a little mini state at the end, so I'm glad you stuck around for that. So with that, Campo and I, next Saturday, we're going to Impact Final Resolution.
You guys need to get footage.
It sounds like a Nazi name, right? Like I feel like this shouldn't be. They need a new name.
Hold up. I'm going to say this right now. Since they're actually going to the event, I feel like they need to get footage to actually put into this video.
No, we shan't.
So when they do their review, we can actually get some actual footage from the actual
we'll
event.
Have like there may be some shorts. There may be some.
By the way, if I may bring this up, New Japan Dominion. If anyone wants to have a good time, go out and look at the first ever New Japan Dominion poster. And then that's all I will say.
Yeah. And Campo, this is a banner year for you. You've been to every major promotion televised event this year.
Yeah, I have, including getting to see Edge's last match.
Yeah, at SmackDown, we went to Forbidden Door.
Saw the Forbidden Doors.
I've
been to the 3-4 WWE shows in 12 months.
Yeah.
Well, I'll eventually get to go to a wrestling show.
He will. It'll be
eventually.
By the by.
Eyes the buy. The Bills the boat.
Sting's final match is in North Carolina.
Where?
At the
Greensboro Coliseum.
The Greensboro Coliseum.
Way too far away from where I live. When is this?
Way too far away. You're willing to travel.
He's almost Tennessee. Right? You're near Pigeon Forge, aren't you?
Well, Pigeon Forge is close by, but I'm near like closer to like Atlanta, I think, and all that. Near those areas.
Your state is like the size of a pickle. Just go there. Take a train or a bus.
Well, when is it coming out?
In the next year at Revolution.
Like what month?
March.
damn, the same time I'm actually going to be trying to buy a car, and I'm going to actually get lessons. Like if
fuck
I,
car.
Bro, so you're
no.
telling me you can't spend like in American dollars like $6 on travel and like $40 for a ticket?
well, $6 on travel. Where's $6 on travel, brother?
I don't know. It's real cheap to live down there, brother.
No, it's not actually.
For us, it's $6 for like one ride on the bus.
I'll explain it to you after we've done this video.
I don't want to
so.
explain. Anyways, thank you for watching.
Put
And
that out of
go
the way,
look up
guys.
Dominion poster.
And in the words of Kenny Omega, goodbye and good night.